There you are. There I is. Hey, welcome to Sty Times, folks. Hey, it's great to see y'all. It's great to see y'all. As always, it's great. I just have to hit a button here. There we go. Oh, man, oh, man. I got great folks out there in the chat already. I got, let's see you come in here. What a Texas gamer check. Great to see you. Gemma Journey Grace. Awesome. There's Kimberly Ferris. Hello. Tim. Oh, there's Tim with Kirk Whipper. Voyager Center. Awesome. Awesome seeing all you folks. Yeah, it's another Sty Times. Another Sty Times. Oh, what a day. Today's been quite the day. I've been busy all day. Yeah. Packing up, cleaning up. Sty's making a big move this month, the end of the month. Yeah. Gonna be moving into a new house, setting up a whole new studio. Yeah. Things are gonna happen. Things are gonna happen. And hey, there's hunting and stuff with J&J. Awesome. Awesome. So happy to have you here today. Now, today's topic, microchips. Where are we going to go with this, eh? Now, this topic can be quite controversial. And I'm not doing this topic to attempt to make it any more controversial than it already is. Now, we're not going to be talking about microchips in your cell phone, microchips in your tablet, microchips in your computer, microchips in your automobiles and pickup trucks, the chips that we're having so much trouble getting. And we've got products that are held way back because they just don't have the microchips they need. No, that's not the microchips we're going to be talking about today. Hey, Ramblin' Hick, great to see you. Great to see you. The microchips we're talking about today are those microchips that are implanted. And those are what are very controversial. And we're going to kind of go through a little bit of the history of those microchips. And we're going to talk about pros and cons from Sty's perspective. I'm an old guy. I've been around the block a bunch of times, so I got a little bit of a opinion about microchips. Oh, Gemma, you're such a sweetheart, girl. You're such a sweetheart, and you are so easy to support. You are. Thank you so very, very much. Hey, Ingalls family is in the house. Great to see you. There's E-Waste Mike. There, he come running over. Microchips. I can recycle those. The ones I'm talking about, Mike, you'd have to work in a morgue to recycle those. There's everything spicy. Yeah, he's not too keen on microchips either. But like I said, I'm talking about microchips that go under your skin or they go in your body and the purposes of them. Now, I'm not talking just about people either. Where did it all start? Now, I got to really thinking about it. When was the first time I ever when was I first exposed to the microchip issue? Well, from what I can recall, I remember having discussions about microchips way back in the late 1970s. I worked for a computer company at the time, a tech company. It was called Data 100. And that's when the first CRTs, first screens came out. When I was working there, all of my computer workstation, my department, our computers were giant printers that printed everything out on green bar paper, and And there was no screen to look at. Everything was printed on paper. Even our programming was all done on paper ribbon. We didn't have any kind of magnetic media at the time. But we were right at that transition stage where they were using a lot of microcircuits, getting into, everything was solid state, everything, you're going into microchips, and that transition was weird. We got our first CRTs, our first screens, and they were tiny. They were only about 6 to 8 inches across, and they were all in the monochrome green print. And that's all they did was show you what you were seeing printed on paper. That's all you got on those screens. It was the same thing. It's just in a smaller compact, and it's electronic. Wow, we're way in advance, right? Even that's when I first got into discussions with people about, man, someday they're going to be putting some of these chips that we're testing here at this company, because that's the department I was in. We did testing of all the my job. I tested mostly CPUs. Now CPUs at that time, you were talking $1,500 all the way up, $1,500 all the way up to $20,000 for just one little CPU chip, right? It's the beginning of the computer era. There were no such thing as private computers at the time. You could not buy one privately, but we were doing all this for the big tech firms, IBM, 3M, all kinds of big tech firms. They were trying to make it marketable to the public. The biggest customer, of course, was the government. So we did a lot of testing of their chips that went into their computer systems. Well, we got into that. Someday they're going to be putting them chips inside of us. You watch. And somehow they're going to be able to keep tabs on us using chips. Hey, Metal Music Maniacs in the house. Great to see you. Joe W. Life Adventures. Joey, it's great to see you. Step Van Dan's in the house. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. So yeah, back in the late 70s, we were already chatting that somehow they're going to figure out a way to put one of them things inside us, Well, then again, you didn't hear much for the longest time. And then it was in the mid-1980s. It's true what's happening. Hang on tight. They came up with we can put a chip in your pet. We can put a chip in your dog. And if your dog gets lost, runs off, or it gets stolen, and it's picked up by animal control, they'll be able to scan your dog for a chip. And if they find that chip, they can get a number off of that chip, and they can go to this national database and put that number in, and your pet is going to pop up in that database, and we'll have all the information about your pet, especially who the owner is and where the owner lives and their phone number. And we can call you and say, we found your dog because it had a chip in it. Now, the first I saw that pop up was in 1984. It wasn't going over too good at first. People are going, I don't want to stick that thing in my dog, I gotta laugh at that. Step Van Dan says, my wife got me chipped. LOL. She wants to keep tabs on you. So, but in the 80s, it took a while, but the idea started catching on. And people were thinking, that's great. We can track our animals, man. our our beloved pets. If they ever get lost, I can post that my pet's lost and they're chipped. Please, any veterinarian or animal control office or the Humane Society, you find a German Shepherd, check him for a chip because he might be mine. Okay. I get it. I get it. In your pet, if you're in a place where the odds are they'll be picked up by someone who'll have the capability to scan that chip, get that number, go to the database, and find you, I get it. I get it. I understand that. Well, then time went by. It's like every once in a while a mention of we could put a chip in a person. It stayed quiet though. They just like, well, you really don't want to go there, right? Well, I hate to say it, folks, but they started putting chips in people before they actually came out and said, you should let us put a chip in people. They were already putting them in people. I don't remember the year, but when they first commercially offered out pacemakers to people, they were getting a microchip implanted with their pacemaker. It took a microchip to run that pacemaker. And they could program that microchip. It was really rudimentary at first. They'd implant the pacemaker with the microchip. Oh, I have to say hello, Mr. Fulton. Good to see you. And it's National Brownies Day. My favorite flavor of brownie is brownie. Any old brownie is a good one. But so, because it was so rudimentary and the microchips of the day when they first started doing pacemakers, your pacemaker might last you a couple of years or so, and they're going to have to remove it and put a new battery pack in. And when they did that, they would put an upgraded microchip in, because those microchips kind of had a short life expectancy also. But they kept improving on things. And Johan Harry, hello from England. Well, hello from the US of A. Welcome to the Sty Shack and Sty Times. So, as time went on, they got so that pacemakers were more dependable, functioning well. They didn't function good in the first several years. I'll never forget, first time I saw a guy at a 7-Eleven store threw a microwavable sandwich in the microwave, turn it on to heat up his sandwich, and all of a sudden he goes, eek! And he hit the floor. The microwave screwed up his pacemaker. Yeah, there was bugs they had to get out of them. So now, as after they found that we can actually use microchips medically like that, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And now we got this pacemaker microchip that can run that pacemaker. Just accurate, And that microchip's got data on it, right? Guess what we can do? We can do that to your kids. We can implant under the skin a microchip that's got your kid's name on it. It's got their medical history. It's got your name, address, phone number. If your kid gets lost, scan the kid. If your kid gets abducted and they end up having to go to a doctor or something, they could scan the kid and say, oh, that ain't your kid. We're going to call the parents. That didn't go over well. That did not go over well. There was part of our society that said, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Some of these child abductions will end and blah, blah, blah. But a huge majority of people said, you're going to tag my kid? No, you ain't going to tag my kid. And the last thing I want is to think that my kid being tagged that way with all that information about them and me gets in the wrong hands. Oh, no. So there was a lot of fear there. There was a lot of people. And I have to say, I think that was justified. I think that was justified because there wasn't enough knowledge about the technology to say, okay, who can get a hold of that information by scanning your kid, right? Who will be able to do that? Oh, only law enforcement. Oh, but medical staff too, the doctor's offices. Um, a few government agencies, like child services and the like, And the few started sounding like there's an awful lot of people out there who can scan my kid and find out everything about me. So people were saying, there's no way in hell I'm going to implant a chip in my kid. I'd rather tattoo my phone number to that kid. You might as well, right? Oh, but it's illegal to tattoo a minor. Don't do that. No, 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 no. It's illegal to tattoo a minor, but it's not illegal to put an implant in that minor of a microchip with all of their information. You're still altering the body. Come on. Okay, let's take it down the road a ways. You wouldn't think I could rattle on about this topic for an hour, but I can. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the pros again. Go back to the pros. Now, my ex-father-in-law, my ex-wife's father, he had, this is how far they've come now, he had a pacemaker and a defibrillator, okay? Both run by a microchip. Now I don't know about other people out there at all. I only know his particular case because that's the only, I know people with pacemakers or defibs and I don't know what they have, but I do know what he had because I was kind of his gopher. I hauled him to the doctor all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I had to listen to all of this stuff. There were times he'd make me sit there in the doctor's office with him, listening to the doctor rattling on about what's going on. And I got to witness some of the maintenance they did on his defibrillator and his pacemaker. Okay, like I said, it's run by a microchip. That microchip in his combined unit monitored his heart rate and what his heart was doing. It was basically doing like a miniature EKG on him constantly. And if he ended up with an irregular heartbeat, that microchip would adjust that pacemaker to balance out that heartbeat. If he went into a rest, the defibrillator would shock him. The defib would know it. The microchip would read that, oh, heart stop, boom, give him a hell of a shock. Now, his last unit, the last time he had the one he had removed and they put a fresh one in him, all new batteries and the like, all ready to go. That thing scared the hell out of me because I was at the doctor's office with him after he had it implanted, while it wasn't really the doctor's office, it was a doctor's office at the hospital. And The I couldn't believe it. They got this box, right? And they're explaining to him, and that box has got two big antennas. Well, not that big. They're maybe about 12 inches long, each of them. Antennas. And they're telling them, now when you get home, and then they start coaching me because they figure I'm going to set it up for them. You got to plug this thing in, and you got to push this button and this and that. And they gave me these written directions. And it'll calibrate it, and it'll ping the satellite. Well, it pings the cell service. And then it pings the microchip in that defibrillator pacemaker. And they communicate together. And anytime he gets within 50 feet of that machine that's going to be sitting in his living room on a little corner table, it's going to ping his pacemaker and his defibrillator, and anything that thing has done in the last 24 hours gets uploaded. And his doctors can get that real-time information about his heart. And if they don't like what the machine is doing, they can download, because it's not just a receiver receiving information from his pacemaker. It's also a transmitter. It will tell the pacemaker microchip, we're changing your programming. Do this, this, and this instead. The hell you say? Really? Well, we got a real test on that one day. Hey, I have to say, hello, Johnny Bravo. It's been a while, buddy. It's good to see you. There's Dr. Smith in the house. Yes, it's great to see y'all. So I got to see in real life it actually worked. So he had gone about a week, maybe two. Everything's good. I asked him, how you doing? He had a doctor's appointment coming up in about a week, and I thought, if he's not feeling good, I'll get him in earlier, And he said, no, I'm feeling good, really good. And he said the pacemaker seems to be working great. He has no problem getting up and moving around, doing his thing. And he says, I'm not out of breath. It's working great. And I said, has the defib shocked you at all? He goes, no. His old one he had gotten a couple shocks when he had the old one. I said, well, that's good. It sounds like it's working good so that your heart's not stalling on you, and you got to be defibbed, I don't know. It's just like the machine was listening to us. I walk out of his living room. He's sitting in the living room just watching TV. I walk out of his living room, go into the kitchen, and I'm talking to my ex-mother-in-law. And we're in there about 15 minutes or so, drinking coffee, chatting, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and she answers the phone. Hello. And she goes, oh my gosh, what? Really? She goes, I got to put you on speakerphone. And so she puts it on speaker. And it's his doctor calling to see how he's doing, right? Well, that wouldn't seem odd, except that he said, we just got an alert off of his pacemaker defibrillator. We just got an alert that he's been defibbed 3 times in the last 15 minutes. Is he okay? And have you called an ambulance? We looked at each other and said, what the hell? He's sitting in the living room watching TV. I thought, oh boy, that thing's screwed up. We walked in there and I go, hey, Ed, how you feeling? Ed goes, well, I'm feeling pretty good right now. But he says, man, oh man, he says, yeah, just for about the last 15, 20 minutes, he says, 3 times, he says, all of a sudden I felt kind of icky, and then all of a sudden, boom, it hurt. It felt like somebody shot me in the chest. And that's what the doctor had said. It had defibbed him 3 times in the last 15 minutes. And here he's repeating what the doctor had told us in the other room, and Ed hadn't heard that. But the doctor knew. The doctor realized it before my mother-in-law and I did, and we were only one room away from him. It kind of got me to think, well, okay, I guess the microchip in a person's body for the right purpose is not such a bad deal. Now, my father-in-law had said to me, he said, there's only a couple of things I don't like about it. And I said, what's that? He says, I don't like the fact that they can make decisions for me remotely. I don't know how many hundreds of miles away they are or how many thousands of miles away they are. And they're looking at all these readings, and then they're making decisions for me. And they don't even talk to me about it. They just do it. He says, that kind of bothers me. I said, well, it sounds like it's life-saving decisions. And I don't know that that's such a bad thing. And he said, I'm just uncomfortable knowing that. I said, I guess I get that. And I said, what else don't you like about it? He says, what I really don't like is the fact that this machine only remembers, the microchip in his chest. The memory capacity of it is only 24 hours. He says, so if I'm away from that receiver for more than 24 hours, they don't know what's gone on. And I said, well, you're right, because if, let's say, you haven't been close enough to that receiver for it to transmit that data, you haven't been close enough to it for the last 28 hours for it to read that data. Once it can read it, it's only going to load up the last 24 hours. So if it's been 28, there's going to be 4 hours of that data, the oldest 4 hours that isn't there anymore, because it starts writing over the top of the oldest data. I said, yeah, I get that. He goes, no, that's not what I'm talking about. He says, how do I know they're not casing the joint? I said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Now, here we go with conspiracy, right? It makes people wonder. You can't blame them for wondering, but you got to kind of be real and sensible about things. And he says, I can't help but wonder if they're not casing the joint. I said, in what way? And he said, if I get more than 40 feet away from it, that machine can't read it, right? And it's telling them, I'm not here. He says, but if I get within 40 feet, he's at home. He says, so they know when I'm here and when I'm not. So if I leave, he says, if me and Luann leave, they know we're gone. They could come in my house, steal everything. He says, and if they left the machine, they're back at their home base. When I walk in the door, they see I pop up on that machine again, and they're going, yeah, I bet he's surprised. Now he's going to have a heart attack. Just watch. Well, oh my gosh, Oh, I have to say hello, Running Water. Evening, y'all. And there's King Bluto. Great to see you, King Bluto. So, this poor old guy figured they got that microchip in there, not so much to keep him alive, but to be casing the joint to find out when he's home and when he's not. It took a bit for me to convince him that he's not that important and he doesn't have that much for them to come and steal. So I don't think so. I don't think they got an office 5 miles away, and they got all of these burglars hanging out waiting for somebody on one of those machines to not be home. So I told them, I said, I don't think you have to worry so much. Okay, we're going to get right back on this, but I have to shout out all of my great channel members. Hey, they're all wonderful people, and it only takes 45 seconds, so don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. There's some great folks for you. Those members are awesome. I love them people. They're great. They're great. They help the channel so much. And with all the new additions to the studio that are coming up, yeah, it's taken a little bit of investment, but thanks to them and thanks to all the super chatters and everybody else out there, it's happening. It's happening. So anyway, one more example of pros of microchips is an old work associate of mine. He has type 1 diabetes. I've got type 2, but I've had it for over 30 years, and had a lot of struggles because of my diabetic state. And now I'm doing great. I mean, like my doctor said, right now, what I'm doing to treat my diabetes, it's as if I don't have diabetes. My blood sugars are normal and they're stable. They don't peak and crash. No, mine, they come up a little bit, plateau, and then they'll drop a little bit and plateau, just like a normal person, which is awesome. I love it. Well, this individual, he was born with diabetes. He's a type 1. Hey, Shark Home Brewing, it's great to see you. He's a type 1 diabetic, born with it, with diabetes. And his diabetes has been quite severe. And they actually gave him, they were right up front with him. They said, typically someone with such advanced type 1, your life expectancy, you're probably going to see your mid to late 20s. And that's about it. Your body just will not be able to deal with the problems that come with that diabetes. Well, he's 47 years old. He's still kicking. Well, he's kicking with some missing toes, and he's got a couple of fingers missing, all lost due to poor circulation from the diabetes. He's legally blind now. And he was our computer technician in my career. And boy, is he sharp. And does he know his technology? He's sharp, boy, sharp as a tack. The last organization I worked with him at, we had a total of 600 plus computer systems in our organization, and he managed all of them, along with 11 very huge file servers, and he was an ace. Slightest little hiccup, that boy was right on it. He had the answer to everything. Technically, he was just an ace. Well, the diabetes was getting to him to the point where he was going to have to quit working. It was getting to the point where 3 out of 5 days he was so sick he couldn't work. And I kept telling him, you need to just retire. You just need to quit working. You need to go on medical, burn up your medical, then go on disability. You can't keep doing this to yourself, because he'd force himself to come to work. And predictably have stated, I'm being told, on more type 1 and type 2, and I test my blood sugar several times a day. I check mine 3 times a day. Like I said, I've been diabetic for over 30 years, and there was a spell that I was taking more insulin than a lot of type 1s were. And I've had people argue with me, no, if you're on that kind of insulin regime, you are type 1. No. And I tell people, and I'm sure Lawn Dog understands too, is people that don't have diabetes and haven't lived with it for all that time, they don't understand the difference. If you're having type 2 onset diabetes, that's something that comes on after the fact. Type 1 you are born with. It's a whole different animal. But type 2 can progress to the point where it can be as severe as type 1. And people don't get it. They don't understand. And they go, oh, you're just type 2. Well, I got to do this and that. And they go, oh, no, if you're doing that, then you're type 1. Well, no, you're not. You may have as severe symptoms as a type 1, but you're still type 2, And yeah, people just don't understand. Well, this friend of mine, like I said, he was a type 1. I mean, they were giving him insulin shots when he was an infant, a baby. So, fortunately for him, the microchip era came along. It was to the point where he was taking typically a minimum, a slow day, 12 injections of insulin in a day. He had to check his blood sugar every hour on the hour. It was that bad. Well, they developed the insulin pump, and he was selected as a candidate as a test subject. And through Loma Linda, they paid for everything, and they gave him a pump, right? Well, those first pumps, what they would do is program the pump. You would prick your finger, check your blood, and you'd enter that reading into the pump. And then the pump would know how many units of insulin to give you. You would just tell him, right? Well, then they came up with, they can, through the pump, test your blood sugar. You don't have to prick your finger. It's going to do it for you. It's going to test your sugar level. And based on what that level is, the pump will know how many units of insulin to give you. So now the pump's doing all of the manual work for you. No more injections that you have to do. The pump's doing it. No more pricking the finger, because the pump's doing it. It's doing everything. Well, his last pump that he just got about a year or so ago, that pump is just like my father-in-law's pacemaker was. He's got a receiver transmitter in his house. He gets up to it, and that thing takes all of the readings throughout the day and uploads it. Boom. And his doctor can see how it's managing his diabetes. can see that range and see if it's spiking and crashing it. And the doctor can remotely adjust the pump. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. There's a very big pro right there, because that has given my past work associate a few extra years of his life. And he is so happy with it. He is so happy with it. He said, I actually don't feel miserable on and off. He either felt really good or he felt really bad. That's all the way his life was. And it was daily that way, back and forth, back and forth. And now he says, I feel good most of the time. He says, I still occasionally get that crappy feeling. My sugars are too low. My sugars are too high. I get those, but not like I used to. All because of that new pump and that microchip that runs the whole thing. Bravo. Bravo. I'm good with that. Lawn Dog's talking about his heard of an actual continuous sensor. Yeah, no, Loma Linda, it was a research project in technical research in the area of diabetes, and they were using, he's considered like a test patient. He's been with them for a very long time doing testing. Back when the pumps first were even introduced, before they introduced it and FDA approved everything, he was a test subject. And so, yeah, he's getting kind of, but the leading edge is right there. I mean, they're getting so close. They're getting so close. It's awesome. Okay, look at here. Eileen, I love you too, girl, and you know you don't have to do that. I don't know how many times I told that girl that, you know. Oh, love you, girl. Love you. But so there you go. Microchip, saving the lives of people, right? I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Good golly, Miss Molly. Putting microchips in children with family history and the like attached to it, I don't think I'm too good with that. Well, about a week ago, a little over maybe, I was watching a dear friend of mine's channel, Shadow Swede Scout, Joran. He's a great guy. And his video was about something that they're trying to do in Sweden. I don't know that they've actually done it yet, but they're talking about it. They're seriously talking about it, of requiring that when you get vaccinated for the virus, they want you to get an implant, microchip implant in your hand that has your immunization record on it. And that becomes your immunization passport. So if you haven't received your immunization for the virus, well, you can't use public transit, or you can't go into restaurants, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. So you got to show your card. Yep. See, there's my card. Well, it's the same thing they got going on here in the U.S., which you could have guessed it was coming. There's people making forged cards, but they're fake. And they're saying, well, if we give people implants in their hands of a microchip with that immunization record on it, they can just walk up, scan their hand, and in the door they go. Well, it sounds convenient, don't it? It sounds convenient, don't it? Wait a minute. Do you control the information on that chip or does somebody else? Are you sure that's all that's on there is he got his 2 shots? He got his booster. Well, we do know that they can update and reprogram those microchips once they're in you. So you go in and get a booster shot. What do? Scan your hand and reprogram that chip to say, well, you added a booster shot. Oh, and by the way, here's his social security number, his address, his phone number, where he works. We'll put that on there too. What the heck? How do you know they didn't? You don't know. You don't, because you don't have the ability to read that chip. They do. And who are they? Well, they say, oh, well, it's only the medical field, doctors and the like, and government agencies, they can see it. But commercial locations will have readers that will say he's approved because his chip says you got the shot. Well, okay, if it can tell whether or not you got the shot or not, who says somebody can't hack that and get any other information off that chip they want? Again, no. I say no. You want to chip your pets? You want to chip your livestock? No, they do that nowadays. There's a lot of farmers that put implants in the necks of their cows, and they know which cow is which. They're not putting an ear tag on them anymore. They put an implant in them with a little information about that cow, I don't have a problem with that. Go for it. I don't care. Don't tag people. Don't tag them. No, no, no. The Nazis used to tag people with tattoos involuntarily. Sounds in Sweden like they're going to mandate it. Okay. Where's our guarantee that what happens in Sweden stays in Sweden? The rest of the world should be concerned about it too, not just the Swedish people. And it sounds like many of the Swedish people are concerned. And I don't blame them whatsoever. If you're going to put one of those in me, the chip to be installed, there's always been a dilemma on how to get the public to take such a device. They have possibly found it. Yeah. And the thing is what they have to do is get society to accept it and say, oh, yeah, go ahead, give me the chip, Rebecca, it's great to see you, girl, out there in the chat. But I don't want to be tagged like an animal, okay? Now think about it. I don't have one close by. I wish I had an old one close by. Is this one? No. Take a look at your credit or debit card. That's an old one I got laying there. In fact, I should cut that up. But is this? I just cut one up, in fact. Oh, yeah. I'll show you. I got to piece it together. There we go. I hope you can see this. See that little silver thing there? I cut this card. That little silver thing on a credit card. That's the chip, right? When they first came out with credit cards, all of them had raised numbers and your name was raised on it, Why? Because to use it, you gave it to the cashier. They put it in a little machine and swipe it, right? Because they've got this carbon paper multi-copy sheet on top. And it imprints what's on your card onto that sheet. And that sheet is how they get the money from you. They send that sheet in like a check. Okay. Then they came out with magnetic strip on the back of the card. You know, that black strip across the back of the card. Now you can swipe the card in a machine. They don't have to manually do it anymore. You just swipe the card, and it's going to read your card information off that magnetic strip, and it'll bill your account electronically. Cool. Then they came up with that little chip, right? Now that chip, all my cards except for one, I just walk up to any pay station. All I got to do is tap that machine with that card. I don't have to stick it in it. I don't have to swipe it. Just tap the machine, and my transaction pops up, and I can approve it. Boom. And I'm out of there. It reads that chip. Boom. That quick. Take your card. Take a look at that chip. At just how tiny that chip is. It's not even a hair thick. It's tiny. And it's surprising how much data is actually on that chip. And how it communicates with something that's communicating with your bank could be thousands of miles away. Now, little incision on your hand, slide that little thin piece under there and let it heal up. Now you walk up, put your hand up against the machine. That chip allows him then to access all of your personal data. Could have your medical records, could have your banking records, could have your address, social security number, all your tax information, could have everything about you sitting in a database somewhere, totally accessible with one pass of your hand in front of the machine. Somebody nabs you out on the street and walks you over to the ATM machine and just swipes your hand across it. Well, guess what? They got access to you. And I've had people say, well, just think of the convenience, though. I mean, you go to the doctor's office and scan coming in. They got all your medical. They update the medical. It updates the chip. Just think about banking. You don't have to carry credit cards or cash with you anymore. Just scan your hand. Now, we've watched enough sci-fi movies. You know, we've watched them. It takes me way back to the days of Star Trek. Communicator. Beam me up, Scotty. We all just like, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? So what do? Hey, come and pick me up, Scotty. It happened. The beaming part isn't here yet, but the communicator is. Just because it never existed and they came up with it in fiction doesn't mean it won't exist. Now, I watched enough of these sci-fi movies where, yeah, everybody's got a chip. Everybody, there is no money. There's no paper records or anything. It's all through the chip. It's all through mainframe computers. And somebody can get in there, hack that, and screw you up bad. Or the Lawn Dog, I like that. He says, oh, Sty, don't worry. They'll just make a law against scanning somebody in order to rob them. We'll have the replicator before we have the transporter. Yeah. And that's it. Is it doesn't matter what kind of system you're using and how many laws you pass. Somebody's going to break that law or try to circumvent it or go around it, and people will be hurt by it, one way or the other. It's going to come. It's going to happen. And yeah, watch the chip will be by Skynet. There you go, Johnny Bravo. That's so that the machines can chase us down, get rid of us, right? I just now I have an acquaintance. They took a capsule, right? Took a capsule. They had to wait for that capsule to go all the way through their system and then out the tail end. And the capsule was recovered out of their waste, right? And that capsule was transmitting all these different things about their system as it went through. That was an experimental thing they went through. That was not that many years ago. And they said it was pretty cool, because it was doing like little tests and stuff all the way through. And, so, okay, we're using microchips in pill form, so they know where you ate it and they know where you pooped it, right? Oh my gosh, come on, what they're doing is they're trying to be Mother Nature, right? Actually, I have a tracking device in your pocket, that smartphone you have, yeah, cell tower on a regular basis. Yeah, it's pinging the tower all the time. And I've always told anybody, I've told people, oh man, if the world went to crap and I had to cut and run, guess what I'd do? I'd go down to a local gas station, stick the hose in my tank, start filling up, and while it's filling up, I'd walk around those pumps because everybody else would be having the same idea. And I'd look for that truck that says, I live in the state of Wisconsin, I'd look for that truck that says Ohio on the plates. Boop, pitch my phone in the back of that pickup truck, go pay for my fuel and get the hell out of there. Go the other direction. Somebody somewhere is going to think, geez, Sty, look at this. He's heading for Ohio, I'm sure of it. Yeah, go track that puppy. Or the other hand, have a classic dump phone. Yeah. And that's it, is, you can Faraday cage a phone and there's things you can do, but you got to keep in mind the minute you take that protection off the phone, it's traceable, So, our world continues to get weird and weird and weird. Thank goodness we all have a sixth sense of humor where we can take it with a big grain of salt and laugh a little bit and say, here it goes. It's heading down that road. Oh, well, I refuse to spoil my day with a microchip. They're not going to stick one in me. I'm sorry. It just ain't going to happen. They'd have to knock me down, hold me down, stick it in me. And I tell you what, I've always got a nice sharp knife somewhere. I'll get that thing back out of me. No, you're not sticking something in me that I have not asked for. Now, if they said you need a pacemaker or defib, and we got to have a microchip in for that. Well, if I want to keep ticking, yeah, I'm going to probably have to take it. But if you're going to put a microchip in me for no other reason than to track my spending and my earnings and my location and everything about me personally, sorry, not going there. You're not getting me to do that. Ain't happening. So there you go, guys. Just a little something to think about with microchips. I've got to wrap it up. It's the end of the hour. And I could go on and on about microchips. There's a lot of other examples and things that I've seen applied that, yeah, you can go down that road for a long time, for a very long time. I want to thank everybody for being here at Sty Times tonight. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry about the dab in the nose. I got this stupid runny nose condition. The get it done. Granny says, I wonder if a strong magnet would put a microchip out of commission. You know, I've wondered that myself. I've wondered that. And as long as that microchip isn't controlling something life-saving, that's something that would be fun to figure out. Because if you had a strong enough magnet, I think maybe you could mess one up. Which wouldn't wouldn't be wise if what chip they stick in you is the only way you can buy groceries. Do you really want to crap that chip out? Well, if you're a survivor and you know how to get by without using those Johnny Bravo super chat him so he can get that 3-foot roll of toilet paper. Yeah. No, I buy my boxes of Kleenex, 4 boxes at a time, once a week. I just damn runny nose. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Lawn Dog. That would have to be you would definitely need a electromagnet, not a common mineral magnet. Yeah, it would take a lot of juice. But that's it. Yeah, I can't go there because I have to wrap it up. I want to thank you all for being here. Definitely great time. Anytime I'm with you guys. And our next show is Friday. Sty Times on Friday at 5 p.m. Tomorrow night, around the campfire at 7 p.m. Friday's topic is going to be kind of fun and interesting. And I'm going to get some audience input on this for Friday nights because I think it's going to be quite interesting. I want to thank Lawn Dog for all the conversation this evening. That was great. Great information out there. So I'll see you all Friday, 5 p.m. You stay safe until then. Okay? Here we go. We're on our way out of here. Here's our next topic.